we head indoors at the Coliseum at the Alliant Energy Center in Madison, Wisconsin, as the final day of the 2019 Reebok CrossFit Games rolls on. Back-to-back events for the women, Ringer 1 and Ringer 2. Thank you for being with us here, everybody, on the Rogue Iron Game, and we appreciate CrossFit providing us with these images from their world feed. I am Sean Woodland alongside Chase Ingram. We are back under the lights, and we saw some pretty spectacular moments yesterday. Some of them courtesy of Amanda Barnhart the last time we were out here on this floor.
And a lot of it has to do with the aura of the Coliseum stepping in on the final day of competition. The crowd is all centered around you. It's loud, the lights are on, and now we're moving into two back-to-back events to where we thought the scoring was only going to be 3 for the day because we don't know how many exactly. So some of these athletes sitting outside the top 5 are given a little bit of a gift with an extra scored event coming up.
Here are the overall standings coming in. Tia Toomey leads Kristen Holta by 135 points. Jamie Green is occupying the third and final spot on the podium right now, but Carrie Pierce, Katrin Davidsdottir, Haley Adams, and Bethany Shadburn, even Amanda Barnhart, all trying to track her down, as again, because of the point structure, no one is really out of this thing as we head into back-to-back challenges, Ringer 1 and Ringer 2.
We've seen a movement that we will see at the CrossFit Games for the first time ever. Ringer event number 130, 2010, assault bike cals, and then toes to rings is a movement we have never seen before, and not really a movement a lot of athletes do. They'll take a short break into 15, 10, 5, burpees to the rings, we've seen that in the past, and then overhead squats at 135 and 95. And all of I see is a lot of speed that's gonna happen in these two events.
There are 2 heats for the women. 5 women going at once. Haley Adams right now sits in 6th place. She's the highest ranked woman on the floor right now, as the leaders will always be in the middle lanes. Anna Frag, who didn't have the best event the last time she was here in competition, that was in the swim paddle that we did just a few hours ago. Bethany Shadburn, they're all trying to gain ground and work themselves into position to possibly make a move to the podium. We are underway. 2 movements, assault bike calories and toes to the rings. And we start with 30 calories on the assault bike. What do you think the keys are now just at the beginning of this event?
Right off the bat, you look at who's going to be successful, and it's going to be the athletes that can handle the assault bike on Ringer event number 1. Toes to rings isn't a difficult movement to do. In fact, it's a very easy movement to do. It's very similar to toes to bar. It has a bit more demand on the core than people are used to. But just being on the assault bike for this long, you really need to push the bike. The bike is where you're going to win this event.
There are 120 scored repetitions in this event. And Bethany Shadburn right now is through 13 of those, as the leader's name will be highlighted in a blue box. The number in the white box will indicate how many reps that woman has completed. And when you're on the assault bike, Chase, what are you thinking now as you move through a lot of these calories? Bethany Shadburn is through 21 and counting. At the 30 mark, they will now move on to the rings, and they will complete 30 toes to rings. Shadburn, your leader here in this heat. Her best finish actually came in the last event. It was her first inside of the top 4. She finished 3rd overall. She has 6 finishes inside the top 10. She does have a 45th. That was in event number 2 in second cup, but that was before the points were being distributed like they are now. So that finish was not nearly as costly as it could have been. In Bethany Shadburn on the right of your screen, she is first to the toes to ring, and now here comes Amanda Barnhart as she has moved past Haley Adams for 2nd place. It goes Barnhart, and then Adams, and then Bethany Shadburn on your screen, and now another woman jumping up to the rings as well.
And the one thing you'll notice about the rings in this particular movement, that different than toes to bar, very similar movement pattern, but they take a lot longer than toes to bar actually do. So when you think about the demand on the core, it's not much different, but the time under tension that these athletes are under, you can't just do that quick little knee tuck, kick the bar and cycle through, is that the rings slow you down to a certain point that a lot of these athletes are not used to.
They will progress down the floor. There is another set of assault bikes on the bottom left hand of your screen, so we will progress down the floor. They won't go back to the same assault bike. With Bethany Shadburn with 1 rep to go, and she is done with round number 1. 100 will mean the end of round number 2, and she is back on the assault bike along with Haley Adams. Here comes Amanda Barnhart, 20 calories now, and Anna Fragu is there as well.
Here's where the event really starts to take shape. In your traditional a descending rep scheme, a 21-15-9, a 30-20-10, this round of 20, and what a lot of you should have seen is actually how easy toes to rings are. They're not a hard movement to actually do, they're just time consuming. So this event has shift focus into mainly being an assault bike event. So those athletes that are sitting in the second heat, you have to understand is that you are really gonna have to push the bike a lot harder than you want to be successful in this event.
Bethany Shadburn and Haley Adams are both through 73 of those 120 repetitions and counting. It's the first of 2 heats here. Back-to-back events for the women. They will be scored separately, events 10 and events 11. So Bethany Shadburn at the 80 rep mark will step off the bike. She's on the bottom right-hand part of your screen and will continue to the rings for 20 toes to ring. Shadburn getting to work at the 100 mark. She will be done with round number 2. Here comes Haley Adams. Haley Adams has been super impressive here, making her individual debut at the CrossFit Games. She's competed in the teenage division, had a lot of success down there. And Chase, I know that you've been super impressed with the way that she's conducted herself at this competition. We're having some technical difficulties with Chase Ingram's microphone. We'll get those fixed. We'll get him back on here. So I'm going to fly solo here for a second. So Bethany Shadburn is through 100 reps, as is Haley Adams. These are your 2 leaders. Anna Fragu is trying to take over Amanda Barnhart's spot in 3rd. So Shadburn through 104 of the 120 repetitions. This is the final round. Once she hits 110, she's on the right of your screen. She's going to move back to the rings and do 10 final reps and then sprint across the finish line. Bethany Shadburn coming in 7th place overall, 539 total points, trying to move within striking distance of possibly a spot on the podium. And now 10 reps remain for Bethany Shadburn. Four to go for Shadburn. Haley Adams sits in 2nd, and it's Barnhart in 3rd, followed by Fragu, and now Tia-Clair Toomey in 5th. Only 5 women in this first of 2 heats, and now Shadburn is done, and she will take heat number 1 of Ringer 1. 5:38.21 seconds for Shadburn. Now Haley Adams is across. She will take 2nd in the heat at 5:45.49. Leaves Amanda Barnhart as the leader on the floor, 7 reps ahead of Anna Fragu on her final set of toes to ring. Barnhart is done, and she is in. And Fragu is off, and she is across. That leaves Tia-Clair Toomey, who's still on the bike for her final set of 10 calories.
And to me, that's something a little surprising to see Tia-Clair so far in the back of the pack on an event like this. I mean, she's a well-conditioned athlete. She's a great CrossFitter. She seemed to just having a little bit of a struggle on the tempo on the rings and just the intensity on the bike. And that's what you're going to need to be successful in this first event.
Davidsdottir is done. She's 10th overall. So we approach 10 seconds to go until we hit the time cap. Davidsdottir trying to get as many reps as she possibly can. Remember, we have another heat to go. She's not going to get across the finish line in time, and now the reset before we move into ringer 2, which is 15-10-5 of burpees to the rings and overhead squats at 95 pounds. One more look at Haley Adams and Bethany Shadburn on these toes to rings.
Now Bethany Shadburn did a great job, especially on the side of the assault bike. She's just a bigger, stronger athlete than Haley Adams is, but I can't speak enough positive things about Haley Adams coming in as an 18-year-old. Just a good, positive attitude of the way things are going, and it's just more than that. It's not the attitude, it's what she's bringing to the competition floor.
So Turi Helgadottir is the only woman in that first heat of 5 to not finish all the work inside the 7-minute time cap. As Bethany Shadburn takes the heat, and now we are set for ringer 2.
Stand by.
We are underway. 15-10-5 burpees to the rings and overhead squats at 95 pounds, and this is where height really gives you an advantage.
It's about time, right? It doesn't happen often in CrossFit. When it does, you swing for the fences when you can. 15-10-5, starting with these burpees to the rings. Now, this isn't a challenging movement to do per se, though it does create a much more of a standard to get to the floor and up to the rings. And Sean, like you said, it pays to be a little bit taller, and especially how you place yourself on the floor. The thing we have to remember is they just ripped through 60 cals on the assault bike, and those toes to rings take enough out of your core that doesn't make the burpee the simplest move to do, where you see the rings kind of maybe affect the burpees. The assault bike going into the overhead squats, that's going to be the biggest key to see how they handle. The problem with this is that the weight isn't heavy, and when that happens, it tells the athletes that they need to go fast.
Turi Helgadottir was the first done with her burpees to the rings, and now she is on to her first set of 15 overhead squats, 60 total repetitions in this event. And Turi Helgadottir right now is your leader through 24. Amanda Barnhart and Haley Adams fighting for second. Bethany Shadburn is in third, or fourth, make that, followed by Anna Fragu in fifth. Only 5 women on the floor right now for this first of 2 heats. Turi Helgadottir hangs onto the bar for all 15, and now she moves back for 10 burpees to the rings, and here comes Amanda Barnhart.
Now I'd have to see how Turi hangs on to this pace, and I'm also a little curious if maybe she overpaced the first round, not really understanding how long that would take. And if you have a 30 cal assault bike to start, it can take twice as long as you thought. That might have been the case there for Turi Helgadottir.
Here are your leaders in the heat. Turi Helgadottir, far side of the floor. Next to her, Amanda Barnhart, she is in second, and Haley Adams in the green shorts, she is in third. Amanda Barnhart has now taken the lead from Helgadottir by about a rep.
I think some of these athletes are really needing to understand is that the pace of these 2 events is as fast as you can go. There's really not a wrong way to do it unless it is too slow.
Helgadottir to the barbell just ahead of Amanda Barnhart. So 10 overhead squats now at 95 pounds. And Turi Helgadottir through 44 now of the 60 scored repetitions, and then she and Amanda Barnhart are swapping the lead. Haley Adams is back in third.
Haley Adams struggling a little bit in the background relative to Turi and Amanda as Amanda moves ahead of Turi.
So Barnhart now back to the rings, 5 reps to go, and she has about 2 down before Turi touches the rings for the first time. 5 reps here, then 5 reps back on the barbell, and then a final sprint to the finish. So Turi Helgadottir finished last in the prior event, and now she's looking to challenge for a top spot here as Amanda Barnhart moves to the barbell. She'll move this with ease. 5 reps for her as she looks to set the early pace in the first of 2 heats. 1 rep to go. Barnhart's done. She will get across the finish line, and Amanda Barnhart takes heat 1 of ringer 2. Turi Helgadottir looking to come in second place. Here comes Haley Adams to start her final set. So Helgadottir is in. She'll take second in the heat. So Bethany Shadburn and Anna Fragu on their final set of 5 burpees, and it's Haley Adams who's looking to lock up third place in this heat. So Adams is done, and she is across.
Now we might see a lot of this in the second heat where, Turi last in the first part, second in this one. Shadburn won the previous one, and now towards the end. So you got to play to a little bit of a game between the 2 events.
Of these 4 movements, which takes the most out of you?
It's obviously the assault bike, right? The assault bike can screw up the whole thing, but you really don't have a choice based off the structure of the event. It forces the issue on the bike.
So Fragu is in, and now Bethany Shadburn goes barreling across the finish line, and that'll do it for heat number 1 of Ringer 2. Back-to-back events. 1 heat remains as the overall leaders, the top 5 women in the standings, will be on the floor next. So Amanda Barnhart, though, setting the early pace with a time of 3:06.76 at Ringer 2.
What I like about Amanda Barnhart is that, you know, their strength is one thing, but she has such good quality movement. And so events like this, having an overhead squat at the tail end of a sprint, positioning is so vital. So Amanda Barnhart, that's where you get the benefit from.
Here are your results from heat 1 of Ringer 2. Amanda Barnhart by 10 seconds over Turi Helgadottir. Haley Adams will take 3rd, and it's Freyku and Shadburn who finished 4th and 5th. Quick reset, and then heat number 2 will be out. What did we learn from that first heat?
Well, what we learned is that you're gonna have to go faster than you want to, especially with 10 athletes, so much on the line with the point system that they're using. The advantage, I cannot begin to stress how much of an advantage the second heat has based off watching the first one, because when you have sprint events like this, these are full commitment events. It's a lot better to have something to shoot for and something fast versus something longer like you would see Mary.
We are waiting on the next, second and final heat of women to take the floor here at the Alliant Energy Center. Again, we want to thank our media partners, CrossFit, for providing us with these images from their world feed. And we want to thank you for being with us here today as we wrap up day 4, the final day of competition at the 2019 Reebok CrossFit Games. I'm Sean Woodland alongside Chase Ingram. We don't know how many events remain here, but back-to-back events, I'm not sure that that's what these athletes expected.
Not at all. I mean, you think, okay, we got 3 events. And you know, people put that in their head when they're thinking about coming into the day. You know, the Tia-Clairs, not so much, but you're talking those races between Holta in 2nd, Green in 3rd, Carey and Katrin. Now you're given an extra event. And that's almost like having an extra life, because when you're scrambling for points on the last day, throwing in an extra event for those athletes trying to sneak up the leaderboard is a gift.
And just a couple spots on the leaderboard, that's 20 points right there. So points are out there to be earned, and you know, we usually call Saturday moving day at the CrossFit Games. I mean, it's been Saturday and Sunday. I mean, you can move all over the place. We've seen this leaderboard change basically after every event.
Sunday especially, right? When you come down to the final 10, we had 2 events yesterday that had 10 athletes in them, but now what we know of is it was 3 and now it's 4. Who knows what happens at the end of the day? Maybe it's 10 more. But this is what the athletes that are trying to make big moves need. With this type of system in place on the final day of competition, throwing in an extra event, it almost puts even more pressure, because you could honestly like, well, I don't have enough, maybe I'll just do the best I can. And now you actually have a legitimate shot to make bigger jumps up the leaderboard.
And you've talked about this as well. You always have a plan going into an event, but because you can gain ground or lose ground so quickly, sometimes the plan's got to go away and you just got to put your head down and go.
And I think that's what you're going to get from these 2 events, because they're really not game plan events. And I like that from a viewership standpoint. The last thing I want to do is actually do any of these events tonight, but seeing an assault bike for 30, 20, 10 cals, toes to rings isn't hard to do. It's not hard to do, especially at the level that these elite athletes are. So now that scares me, because it's now a bike event. And the last thing I really want to see is an event starting with 30 cals on the bike, and then 20, and then 10 with a reprieve of toes to rings in between. And then knowing you have overhead squats on the tail end, you would almost want it to be a little bit heavier, but it's not. It's 135 and 95. So what does that tell you? I got to go even faster than I want to, because burpees to the rings also, again, at that rep scheme, 30 total burpees to rings, again, isn't hard to do. So they're forcing the issue based off the way they program it. And I'll tell you what, I love it. I love putting athletes in a position that they don't want to be in, because nobody wants to go out and sprint 30 cals on the assault bike, but you don't have a choice.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, you have a choice. And if you don't make that choice, you've chosen to lose.
Right. And here is a look at the back-to-back events. Ringer 1 and Ringer 2, one with 120 total reps, the other with 60 total repetitions.
And I believe this is actually the first time we've seen both the men and the women do the same exact number of cals on the assault bike.
That was the same thing with the ruck run as well, same weight in the ruck. 5 more athletes remain to go here in the second and final heat, and they are your top 5 in the overall standings. Katrin Davidsdottir, she comes in 5th place overall. She is 40 points back of Carrie Pierce for 4th. She is 103 points back of Jamie Green for 3rd, so she can't get into the podium, but she can get close. Carrie Pierce, meanwhile, led this competition at one point. She is now in 4th. Now, Jamie Green is the woman who sits in 3rd.
Jamie Green holding that final podium position, but to your point about Katrin being so close, she also needs to look over her shoulder because Haley Adams is only a handful of points behind her.
Kristen Holte making her way to the floor. She is on track for her career best finish at the CrossFit Games. She's been 7th overall the last 2 years, never been on the podium. That is looking very likely to change here in 2019. And now, Tia Toomey, your overall leader, trying to become the first woman to ever win 3 CrossFit Games championships.
I enjoy the way these 2 events set up back to back because it makes it very cognitive between the athletes, because you don't want to catch yourself thinking about 11 when you should be focused on number 10.
Lane assignments. Tia Toomey, your overall leader, will be in lane 3 in the middle. The 2 women immediately behind her in the overall standings, Kristen Holte, will be in lane 4. Jamie Green will be on the other side of her. And Katrin Davidsdottir, it is not out of the realm of possibility that she could wind up on top of the overall standings. She's going to have to smash whatever events remain and get a lot of help in the process. But that is what this scoring system allows here. We can have big swings up or down on the leaderboard, and Katrin Davidsdottir looking to take advantage of that.
And that's the thing we've been talking about, and I think, you know, people are like, oh, you've talked about the scoring system a lot. It's because the scoring system has a massive impact, especially on today. If these events were happening on Thursday, we wouldn't mention the scoring system once, but the margin of points between places is what these athletes are actually have to their advantage, trying to chase down Tia-Clair Toomey.
Tia Toomey will, regardless of what happens in this event, she will remain the overall leader. Now, if she finishes dead last in both events, maybe that changes a little bit. But after this event, it's the 135-point cushion. The most you can pick up on anybody is 90.
When you think about events like this, like not likely, it's actually the most likely opportunity that this can happen because of the speed that these events should be done in, where there's no room for error.
Second and final heat of Ringer 1 is underway. It's Bethany Shadburn who has the top time, 5:38.21 seconds, 120 scored repetitions in this event.
And this is the pace you want to see these athletes go at because they don't have a choice. Katrin Davidsdottir sitting in 5th, being chased down by Haley Adams, within striking distance of the podium after nearly being cut yesterday. This is who benefits the most, having 2 back-to-back events like this.
And Davidsdottir right now is through 10 of those initial 30 calories. Kristen Holte 3 back, followed by Pierce Green. Toomey right now in 5th place.
And Holte is actually one of those athletes that do not benefit from an event like this, especially dealing with the assault bike, just because of her size. Size matters when it comes to the assault bike, especially power output. Davidsdottir, Tia-Clair Toomey, Barnhart, those are ones that can take advantage of the bike. Holte, it's going to be a little bit of damage control because everyone's going to hang on to the ring. So the advantage that she would have is negated by how simple those toes to rings are.
Katrin Davidsdottir is creeping closer now to that 30 rep mark where she will move on to the toes to rings. Her judge's hand is in the air. She's through 26 of those 30, and she is leaving everybody behind her. Carrie Pierce now in second, closest to the camera.
And how many times have we seen Katrin Davidsdottir get her back against the wall and then come out swinging when she gets back to the Coliseum?
So Davidsdottir's done with her 30 calories and now on to her 30 toes to rings. At the 60 rep mark, she'll be done with round 1, and she'll move forward. 20 calories on the assault bike after this, but she is the only woman on her rings right now. She's already 7 reps in.
At the very start, you saw her actually try to push the pace of the toes to rings. You can't actually do that. In movements like this, to me, they have a capped time frame, a lot like wall balls and kettlebell swings, is that you can't actually make this movement faster because of the rings. So if you try to go faster, all you do is make it harder. Just hang onto the rings, do them unbroken, and your pace and intensity needs to be saved for the bikes.
Davidsdottir right now is 8 reps away from finishing up round number 1. Carrie Pierce is in second, followed by Holta. Tia-Clair Toomey has moved into 4th, but she and Jamie Green are close for that 4th place spot in the second and final heat. Back-to-back events here, events 10 and 11, and this is Ringer 1, Ringer 2 coming up after this. Davidsdottir's done, back to the bike for 20 calories.
I'm not saying destroy yourself on the 20, but don't be afraid of the 20. We still have overhead squats to do, so you could put yourself in a bad place. Keep pushing the pace, put more upper body into the bike. People forget, those handles aren't armrests for your hands. No, you can actually put a lot of extra power into the bike if you use your arms. Push, pull, help the legs out on the assault bike.
Davidsdottir is more than halfway through this event at 68, now 69 repetitions and counting, 120 total. Carrie Pierce, 6 reps back of her in second. Kristen Holt is in third, and it's Toomey and Jamie Green battling for 4th. The time to beat again, 5:38.21 seconds, belongs to Bethany Shadburn. Did that in the first of these 2 heats.
Now it's actually a little surprising to see is that Tia, Green, and Holta all moved to the bikes at the same time. I would have assumed Tia would be up a little closer towards the front.
The Davidsdottir score says she is done, but she is obviously still on the bike, so some work left to do for her. She has 20 toes to rings. After this, she is done, and she will be the first woman back to the rings.
There's no other option for Katrin Davidsdottir. If you want a shot at the podium, you have to win events. There's no other game plan, there's no other strategy. You have to go out there and win. In my opinion, Katrin is best when you take options away from her and it says you have to win. Not do your best, not stay in your lane, win this event at all costs.
She's trying to chase down Carrie Pierce, and again, she's 40 points back of Pierce, so Pierce is just trying to stay close so she doesn't surrender too much ground. And here comes Tia Toomey, Kristen Holta right beside her as well, but Katrin Davidsdottir now through 100 of the 120 total repetitions, and she's going back to the bike for the final time. 10 calories, then 10 toes to rings, and then a sprint across the finish line.
Here's where the massive benefit is in going second, because you know what the time is, you're leading your heat. Don't kill yourself on these 10 if you don't have to, just to beat the time to beat.
Davidsdottir now with 5 calories to go. Carrie Pierce just finished her second set of toes to rings, and she is on the bike as well. So Pierce trying to stay close with Davidsdottir. Toomey and Holta to the bike at the same time. And now Jamie Green joining them. Those are your top 3 athletes in the middle of the floor. Green, Toomey, Holta, and then Carrie Pierce closest to the camera.
Actually very impressed how Holta is sticking with the champ, Tia-Clair.
38 seconds to go before we hit the time to beat. Katrin Davidsdottir looking like she's going to smash that. So Katrin Davidsdottir doing work. The sled dog wins event 10.
Huge, huge event for Katrin Davidsdottir.
So 5:38 is now second place. Carrie Pierce has to start thinking about beating that time, so she only surrenders 10 points to Katrin Davidsdottir. Toomey and Green on the rings, and here comes Kristen Holta. She's on the right.
Holta is actually cycling a little bit faster than Tia-Clair Toomey, keeping those knees tucked.
And Carrie Pierce just fell off. That means Bethany Shadburn is going to take second. Green and Toomey come across. Holta will take third. Toomey gets 4th. And here comes Carrie Pierce. So Pierce, because of that fall, may watch her lead disappear as far as Katrin Davidsdottir is concerned. So Davidsdottir was in 5th coming in, Pierce was in 4th. Davidsdottir needed to make up 40 points, and she may have just done it.
That was very, very close. If she's not, she's only 10 points behind because Pierce dropped her grip starting to go. And as each athlete swung in, 10, 20, 30 points.
Carrie Pierce is going to finish 7th in that event, which means she earns 40 points, so Davidsdottir just picked up 60 on her. That lead is now gone for Carrie Pierce over Katrin Davidsdottir.
Look how smooth and relaxed Katrin Davidsdottir is on the rings, and that is what you actually want to see with this particular movement, is not trying to make it too hard, and that's what you saw from Carrie Pierce. And you saw her fall right there, just belly flopping right on the mat, and that had a lot to do with her grip,
right,
just being smoked.
And Kristen Holte beats Tia Toomey across the finish line, so Holte will be able to slightly cut into Toomey's 100, now 25-point lead, as unofficially the standings have updated after Katrin Davidsdottir wins. Shadburn finishes second, Holte, and then Toomey. So Holte now trails Toomey unofficially by 125 points. Jamie Green sits in third, but now she is only 47 up on Davidsdottir.
And how much did we say, who are the athletes that are going to throw wrenches into the system that can make moves for people on the leaderboard? Shadburn, Adams getting ahead of Green while Katrin's taking an event win.
And Bethany Shadburn has now jumped into 6th place overall.
Jamie Green looked rough after that event, and we're talking about overhead squats coming up with such a light weight. You need speed when it comes to this. I'm not sure if she's going to have it.
Katrin Davidsdottir at the top of your screen tracks down Carrie Pierce in the last event. Now she turns her sights to Jamie Green, who is 47 points ahead of her in the overall standings and who currently occupies the final spot on the podium. 60 total repetitions in this event. We start with those 15 burpees and rings, and Davidsdottir, top of your screen, is off to a great start.
She is blasting through this, and this is what this event demands for. When you look at it on paper, this event isn't hard to do. In fact, a lot of the movements are, you would say, simple, borderline easy. So what does that mean? You need to fully send the event. You have no other option but go, and Katrin Davidsdottir is doing exactly that.
Well, Davidsdottir just picked up her first event win of the competition. You think back to the first time when she won the CrossFit Games, her only event win came on the final day. But Davidsdottir moves on. She's onto the overhead squats. Jamie Green sits in second, followed by Toomey, Holte, and Pierce. Here comes Jamie Green and Tia Toomey, but Katrin Davidsdottir is in the lead at the 30 mark. She will move on for round number 2 and perform 10 burpees to the rings.
Can't tell you the importance of pushing the round of 15. When you're done with 15, the event is halfway over. There's not enough reps towards the second half because of those breaks to make up. So you actually need to throttle down on the 15 to get ahead of the rest of the field.
Kristen Holte starting her overhead squats. Davidsdottir continues to move at a frantic pace, and now 10 burpees to rings for the former 2-time CrossFit Games champion, who we said earlier, she's still in the running here. Carrie Pierce, meanwhile, struggling as she finishes up her first set of burpees to rings. And you wonder, maybe she got the wind knocked out of her during that fall.
If she didn't get the wind knocked out of her, she is a much tougher human being than I have ever seen, because the way she hit that mat was devastating.
And now a no rep for for Davidsdottir. She fixes that, gets back to the barbell, now 10 overhead squats. Toomey is in second and Jamie Green is in third. Jamie Green needs to think about hanging as close as she can to Katrin Davidsdottir to not surrender as many points. Now remember, there is another heat that has already gone. Those times may be a factor here.
Tell you what, this event couldn't have lined up better for Katrin Davidsdottir. What fatigue movement would you like to do when you're at your worst? An overhead squat. This is Katrin Davidsdottir is taking advantage of the opportunity that she's been given.
The Davidsdottir's done. Now 5 burpees to the rings. The time to beat belongs to Amanda Barnhart, 3:06.76. And I don't think that's going to be a problem right now for Katrin Davidsdottir as she looks to pick up her second straight and second total win of this competition. Carrie Pierce, meanwhile, is in 5th and she's struggling. No struggle, though, for Davidsdottir. 5 final repetitions for her. Final rep for Davidsdottir. 2 for 2 for Katrin. 2 wins, 200 points inside the Coliseum. Tia Toomey is well ahead of the 2 women behind her on the overall leaderboard. The Toomey looking to now finish 3rd in this event, as Barnhart's time of 3:06 is going to be good enough for second. So Toomey is in, she'll take 3rd place, but she will not surrender any ground to either Kristen Holte or Jamie Green. But Katrin Davidsdottir is now creeping up in that race for the podium. Jamie Green.
Gee, very impressed how Green bounced back from what she looked like after 10. I didn't think that she'd do a single overhead squat.
Jamie Green is across the finish line. Green will take 3rd in this heat. That's 6th in the event. Now here comes Kristen Holte. 1 more for Holte. Holte is in. She'll take 7th place in the event. So once again, Tia Toomey is going to widen her lead on second place, Kristen Holta. Things getting tighter in the battle for the podium for the women. Now, Carrie Pierce is the only woman left on the floor. Now, this is where you have to start thinking, I know there's another heat. You want to get in, but is the effort now worth it for her?
I mean, for her, based off her finishing place, no, I don't think she really has a choice, even if she wanted to go hard, because whatever she did in event 10 is either red line too hard or that fall off the rings took its toll on her.
There was not a lot of time for her to recover from that fall, and she still has a set of burpees and a set of overhead squats remaining here. It's Katrin Davidsdottir, perfect inside the Coliseum today. Wins ringer 1, wins ringer 2, her first 2 event wins of the competition. And she picks up 200 points in the process, and she has vaulted up the leaderboard, and she will be a factor in the battle for the podium.
3, 2, 1.
And that's going to do it for Carrie Pierce. So she will hit the cap. Pierce will finish 10th out of 10 in the event. Costly fall for Carrie Pierce, but Katrin Davidsdottir, 2 wins and 2 huge wins for her, as she has now unofficially moved into 3rd place overall by just 3 points over Jamie Green.
I mean, you were almost left for dead coming into Saturday morning, squeaked in after the sprint, and you are taking full advantage, not just being a top 5, but possibly a podium spot.
2 wins for Davidsdottir right now. She sits in 3rd place overall.
200 points at this point in the game could be a complete game changer. How were you able to find a pace that you could maintain to take the win on both of those back-to-back events?
We take a lot of pride in working very hard in the gym. We do a lot of interval stuff, and where I go as hard as I possibly can, and I trust that I will recover. And before we came out here, my coach told me this is what we do. And I closed my eyes and I was like, in the gym, this is what we do. Work really hard and trust that we can do it all over again.
You close your eyes, put your head down, get the work in. I mean, at this point in the entire weekend, after everything you've been through, is it harder to go to that dark place, or with the podium in sight, is it even more of a fight?
I have nothing to lose. I'm here to fight.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Well, she's here to fight. She just landed some haymakers. 2 straight wins for Katrin Davidsdottir, 200 points. 253.29, the only woman in the heat to go sub 3 minutes. Amanda Barnhart's top time from heat 1 is good enough to give her 2nd place. Tia Toomey doing exactly what she needs to do to stay on top of the overall leaderboard, just avoid a total meltdown. She takes 3rd place. Your updated overall standings is Katrin Davidsdottir, now in 3rd place by 3 points over Jamie Green. Kristen Holta hanging on to 2nd place, but now Davidsdottir will turn her sights to her, and we'll see if we have a showdown possibly between the last 2 champions of the CrossFit Games. Jamie Green, though, has a chance to work her way back onto the podium. Haley Adams and Amanda Barnhart could be factors, but they're falling off the pace, as is Carrie Pierce. So right now it looks like a 4-woman battle for the podium, but that can change very quickly. I know we sound like a broken record there, but there are tons of points available here. Take a quick break. We'll be back inside the row 10 here on the Rogue Iron game to get you set for men's events 10 and 11. Stay with us here in Madison, Wisconsin.
I've been called a rebel, an outlaw, a fighter. Fighting to become stronger, faster, smarter, better. Pushing my body strengthens my mind and my soul. I walk towards the fire, towards the fray. I walk towards the crucible. It is not easy. It will hurt. I will sweat, I will suffer. I will bleed and blister and bend, but I will never break. I'm never broken.
Common is our foe. Unconventional, our ally. The battle against weakness reveals perfection. Ours is a disruptive culture, seeking to redefine strength, reshape nature, and restore American innovation. This is our code. This is Rogue.
Once again, the leaderboard gets jumbled up here on the final day of competition at the 2019 Reebok CrossFit Games. Thanks for staying with us, everybody, here in Madison, Wisconsin. We are inside the Rogue tent. I am Sean Woodland alongside Annie Sakamoto, Dan Bailey joining us as well. But, I mean, that last event, Katrin Davidsdottir, she has always done a good job of striking when the iron is hot and doing what she needs to do late in the competition, and that was vintage Katrin Davidsdottir.
Vintage, and you know what she needed to do on those two events was basically go full send, right? She had nothing to lose and everything to gain, and that's exactly what she did. She went out hot on the bike, unbroken on the toes to rings, and it totally paid off. She was able to beat Shadburn's time from the previous heat by about 30 seconds. And then what was so impressive to me was the pace on her burpees. It was just blistering, especially compared to those other ladies. It was as if she hadn't done Ringer 1 and all the other ladies had. Obviously for her, overhead squat, very comfortable movement. So here we are. She goes into that event, or into those two events, in 5th place. She was back by 97 points from Jamie Green. What used to be an insurmountable deficit. There's no way. Here she is now, just about 20 minutes later, 3 points ahead of Jamie Green, sitting in 3rd place.
Yeah, if we have the overall standings, we can show them to you. I mean, it's now super close. Like you said, Katrin Davidsdottir was in 5th coming into the event, and now she's sitting on the podium, but not by much. Jamie Green can still be a factor here. She is only 3 points back. That disappears in one event. Tia Toomey still your overall leader by 165 points now over Kristen Holta. Davidsdottir's in 3rd, Green in 4th. Haley Adams, she can still be a factor. Amanda Barnhart, after what we just saw, not out of it either. Now, Carrie Pierce, though, got to wonder how she's feeling after the fall that she took on event number 10.
Yeah, I'm super surprised to see that happen to her. She's known as a very well-rounded gymnast. Toes to rings, to me, would have been something that she would have been one of her strong suits. And as we saw when she was doing that toes to rings, she came right off, might have knocked the wind out of herself, chest first onto the bottom. You can see there struggling to catch her breath. Perhaps might have knocked the wind out of herself on that workout heading into Ringer 2. So where she was sitting before, she's dropped all the way down to 7th, and now she finds herself over 100 points away from that podium with just those 2 fast events there. You can see looking incredibly fatigued on her burpees. When she would come down, she wouldn't drop straight to the floor. She would have to take a pause for a moment and then drop down. So kind of curious to see how that fall, losing her grip on the toes to rings, falling on the mat there, might have changed things for her moving forward into the next events.
Well, the men will be up next, and the same thing for them. It's going to be back-to-back events, and here's where we stand as we head into events 10 and 11. Noah Olson still your overall leader. He has a 35-point lead on Matt Fraser. Bjorgren Karl Gumundsson, he sits in 3rd place overall, but Scott Panchik, James Newberry, Matt McLeod, and even Jacob Hepner, all those guys have a chance to move into position, if not move on to the podium after this next event. Noah Olson now back inside under the lights with the leader's jersey on. He has got to be feeling the pressure at this 5 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got Matt Frazier breathing down his neck. We're coming to the end of the competition, and nothing's safe, like we've mentioned before and we've mentioned all weekend. So he had a great finish here against Saxon Panchik, being able to squeak in some points last night. Every point's going to matter, but my eyes are on him. Will he be able to stay strong on the toes to rings? He should be able to, because that's one of his better movements in terms of gymnastics. My question is, can he stay with Matt on the assault bike? He's also a very good squatter, so then who's going to be able to burn out on those burpees, maintain pace, keep those overhead squats unbroken?
This will be the same challenge as the women face, with just a heavier load on the overhead squat. What are the keys here for the men?
I would say the keys for the men are, can you manage that assault bike as well as the toes to bar? So, or excuse me, toes to rings, different movement this year. So minimizing your brakes there, pushing hard on the assault bike, hard enough that you can get off and jump right onto the rings.
Who will you be watching now to do well in this event?
Well, for me, I hope BKG was just watching what happened to that women's leaderboard, right? So he opened up the gap between himself and Scott Panchik on the swim paddle from 3 points to 43 points. So that was a great lead that he gave himself. But look at what we just saw that happened with Katrin Davidsdottir, right? Last night we saw with BKG, he put that dumbbell down, Noah Olson overtook him on the sprint triplet. This is not the time to be conservative. For Bjorgman Carl Gudmundsson, he has to go full send if he wants to ensure his spot on the podium.
Bjorgman Carl Gudmundsson right now in 3rd place overall. We're going to step aside for just a quick second. We'll be back. We'll bring you men's events, 10 and 11, back inside the Coliseum here at the Alliant Energy Center.